Great weather from Cheyenne, Wyoming joins us here on the Closing Market Report from Illinois Public Media. It's public radio for the farming world. Find us online and listen to us on demand. You can hear most of our programming anytime you'd like in most of its entirety at willag.org. That's willag.org. Don't forget that you can also pick us up as a podcast. You can do that at iTunes or in Spotify, the Google Play Store, the NPR One app on Stitcher. Any player that you would like to listen to our programming content, you probably can find it. I'm Extension's Todd Gleason.
Are you preparing for planting season? We don't mean to be a pest, but here's a few things you need to know before you grow. The Illinois Department of Agriculture now requires special local needs labels, including new restrictions for the use of herbicide dicamba on top of soybeans in Illinois for the 2019 growing season. Did you know these additional restrictions go beyond federally approved labels? Remember, the label is the law. To find out more about these Illinois-specific labels, visit ilfb.org/label-aware.
Attention, Illinois farmers. You won't want to miss this field day at SIU Carbondale University Farms. It's your chance to hear from industry experts about ongoing research and how it will benefit your farm. Join us on June 26 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with free lunch included. This is a joint effort of the SIU College of Agricultural Sciences, Illinois Nutrient Research and Education Council, and Illinois Farm Bureau. You must pre-register at illinoisnrec.org and click on upcoming events.
You're listening to RFD Town and Country Partners, connecting you with the food you eat, the Illinois farmers who grow it, and the food-related events, destinations, and lifestyles that make our state great.
We are back on RFD Town and Country Partners. Today we'll check in with Terry Pope. Terry is a Hancock County farmer, and he's also the Economic Development Coordinator for Hancock County. But as you told us last month, Terry, only about a month left with that title.
That is correct. We are presently still in the process of looking for my replacement. Have gotten several resumes and have done a couple interviews. So we're in hopes that we'll find the next person to take my place.
Having served in this position for 3 years, what's the most important qualification?
The most important qualification is relationship building. It's really being able to connect and communicate with your businesses and business people and actually the people you work with to find businesses. And it's also, I'll add one more, and it's kind of two things together. It's called follow up and follow through. In this job, it doesn't do any good to go speak with someone and then not follow up. Probably within my first 2 weeks of being on the job, I heard those things, and so it's been one of the mantras that I've always continued to follow is if you call me, I'll call you back in 24 hours. If I go see you, I'm going to respond to you within 5 to 7 days. One of those things, and it's all about relationship building.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice and some good qualifications for anybody in any position.
It is. And, I mean, even if you're someone that's looking for new employment, you know, those are the type of easy skills that you really don't have to be educated on or pay for, and yet they're skills that will take you a long ways.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about that, one of the things that we'd like to get an update on, you had a career fair for some of your young people in that community. How'd that go?
Actually, we had two. We had one that was a general job and career fair, and it was held at Southeastern High School in Augusta. We had over 200 students come and from 6 different high schools. We had over 35 vendors there, employers or educational groups. Students could some could sign up for summer jobs, some could learn about careers in the future. The one that really I like to talk about a little bit, though, is we had a health career expo here at our Unity Point Memorial Hospital, and we had 35 students. High school juniors and seniors come to that. They learned about the different aspects of healthcare, from bookkeeping and IT to they actually had a session where they actually got to suture a sponge. but with one of our doctors, learn about radiology. But the good news from that is we have, I believe, 17 or 19 students that have signed up to Job Shadow this summer. That is really a way to find that you're making some progress in that area. And, of course, we always, whenever we talk to our students, we say, you may leave for your education. We want you to come back to Hancock County because there are jobs here.
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful mission for sure. So hopefully someone will come in with as much passion and love for the county as you in that current executive position.
Well, we hope so.
Mm-hmm. Now, anything else, like one more month here, the 27th is your last day, but anything in the month of June as we kind of kick off summer for you and your area?
We continue to, business retention and expansion is the main thing we're working on. And the month of June is when we will try to start the process of working with some of the high schools to advance some programs we'd like to do. So we have that. One of the things we are working on with our workforce investment board that's regional is they received a grant on doing apprenticeships. Hancock County Economic Development is actually a team member that will be helping to advance that type of job opportunity and education in our manufacturing, transportation, and logistics area.
Terry Pope is the executive director of the Hancock County Economic Development. Lots going on. And the other thing, and we mentioned you're a farmer, and the other issue that your entire county is aware of is the rising river level.
We've had a lot of rain like everyone has. The issue with the river, it's up again, so the locks are closed. There's no barge traffic. And that's been a real problem because farmers like to move grain, but there's no place to go because the elevators on the river have to empty into the barges, and then they can bring grain in. We were fortunate that I think here a week ago, some of the local elevators got some tows up and were able to move some grain onto those barges. The issue is they still can't get down through the St. Louis area. Mm-hmm. So we're moving grain, but we're not getting it to the end user like we need it. A lot of grain from Hancock County, like other counties, is exported, and we need the river to get to levels where that grain can move downriver and get down to the exporters. Mm.
And you spent many years on the Illinois Farm Bureau Board dealing with a lot of issues. When it comes to levee and Army Corps, that's kind of an ongoing conversation for everyone because we all rely on that river.
Well, we do. And the biggest thing is we've always got authorization passed through WRDA, but we seldom have got it funded. And, with the locks and dams being built in the 20s and 30s, they had a 50-year life, and that was many years ago. So the good news is for Western Illinois is at least it looks like the Illinois River is going to get some major things done in the next year or two. So we're glad that's happening. I know it's going to cause a disruption because it looks like they're going to do it all, in a short amount of time. But that's probably a good thing. And but we need the same thing done on the Mississippi also.
Farmer cap on, you're setting idle, which is so rare. You've had a lot of planting seasons, Terry Pope. How many have you been where you're in the latter part of May and just sitting?
Well, my first year of full-time farming was when I graduated from college in 1973. And that's back when the University of Illinois went into June. And I just remember my dad called around the 25th of May and said, if you're going to farm, you need to come home. And I tried to explain to him how I had a week of class and finals to do. And he said, we haven't been in the field. Not last fall, not this spring. And so that's how I started my farming career. And I think we've had maybe two others since then that really got this late, but usually, even though it's late, we tend to get the crops in. We know there's going to be some yield loss, but that's just part of farming. So it's hard to be patient.
Yeah, and then back to that sort of, what we've learned and what we have today that we didn't have in 1973 when you talked about that was crop insurance.
Well, yes, we have crop insurance. We have quite a few advancements in technology, both in seed and with the products we can put on the seed. And we've got a lot bigger equipment. I mean, when I think of when I started farming with a 4-row planter and an 18-foot disc, and today we're using 16 24-row planters, and we won't even talk about the width of the field cultivators. But, you can get a lot done in a hurry if you have the opportunity and the open window to get it done.
Right. One other thing, I guess, as we wrap this conversation up, back on the economic development, we always like to tie agriculture together with the town and with the business community. You're all in it together.
Yes, we are. And Hancock County is a rural county. There's a lot of dollars, gross revenue, that goes through agriculture here, whether it's the agribusiness or the farmers. And so usually the common saying is, as agriculture goes, so goes the rural community. And so I don't know as the community maybe is feeling it, the county's feeling it that this year, but it'll definitely have some things that happen next year.
Well, Terry, we certainly have enjoyed talking with you today. And give us your website if folks want to kind of keep track of what you guys are doing. I know you have farmers markets, lots going on throughout the summer. Where do they go to find out more?
They can go to growhancock.com. That's our website. If they want to contact me, they can just put director@growhancock.com. And then our phone number is 217-440-8909.
Terry Pope with Hancock County. We'll be back with more Town and Country Partners.
Farm Week and Partners Magazine editor Chris Anderson connects rural routes for you. Chris shares her 4 decades of writing expertise by making sure each edition delivers the best information. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I was raised on a farm in Champaign County growing corn, soybeans, popcorn, pumpkins, and poultry. My top priority is to inform, educate, and even entertain Farm Bureau members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
All Ag.
All Illinois.
All Now.
There are a lot of smartphone apps out there, but do they have what's important to us here in Illinois? The Farm Week Now app does, and it's always at your fingertips. All Ag, all Illinois, and 24/7 where and when you need it for free. Go to your app or Play Store on your smartphone, hit search, type in Farm Week Now, that's one word, and download it today. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where we're all about farm, family, and food.
With what happens on the farm can impact your family and is related to food, I'm Mike Orso with RFD Town and Country Partners. We have perhaps the best food production system in the world. Yet a recent study conducted by the University of Illinois shows widespread food insecurity throughout the United States. Researcher Craig Gunderson oversees the Map the Meal Gap study.
The overall rates of food insecurity are still higher than they are they were in 2007 before the Great Recession. So it's frustrating that we have not been able to get levels down to that point.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture says food security means access by all people to enough food for an active, healthy life. Gunderson, who has conducted the study over the last 9 years, says it measures food insecurity through 18 questions posed to households. Respond to 3, and it's considered food insecure.
There's this enormous variation across the country in terms of food insecurity. The county with the highest rate of food insecurity is Jefferson County, Mississippi, and they have a 36% food insecurity rate. In other words, 36% of the people in that county are food insecure, whereas Steele County, North Dakota, which has the lowest amount, is 3%. So you have this 12 times higher food insecurity rate in this county than in the lowest county.
How about Illinois? The study shows the state has a 10.9% food insecurity rate. That compares with Indiana at 13.3%, Missouri at 14.2% food insecure, and Wisconsin at a flat 10%.
There are some parts of the country in rural areas that really are struggling, and these struggles are manifesting themselves in higher rates of food insecurity. Conversely, there's a lot of rural areas that are doing quite well for different things, and we can probably learn a lot of lessons from those areas.
The county-by-county variation can be wide. For example, McHenry County is only 6.4% food insecure, Cook County nearly double at 12%, Jackson at 17.6%, and Alexander County at 22%.
The Great Recession ended towards the end of 2009, and the rates didn't begin falling until 2014. So you had this whole backup. I mean, in other words, even though the economy was doing better, the most vulnerable households, they weren't able to escape from food insecurity.
Greg Underson works with Feeding America, the network of food banks across the country, to conduct the study. Simply type in Map the Gap in your favorite web browser to find out where your county stands. For RFD Town and Country Partners, I'm Mike Orso.
Spring is here and things are buzzing. Farmers and pollinators are working together to help feed us. In fact, 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat exists because of bees, butterflies, birds, bats, and other insects. Pollinators are important to our food system and the ecosystem overall. That's why farmers and those in the agricultural industry are working together to protect pollinators through education, research, and conservation efforts. Visit ILAGformonarchs.org to join the buzz. That's ILAGformonarchs.org.
When it comes to social media, Sabrina Berkowitz connects rural routes for you. Sabrina covers a broad range of ag topics, so Farm Bureau members are the first to know about key issues. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up with a grain and livestock farm in my extended family, and today I really enjoy helping people learn how to use social media to advocate for agriculture.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Welcome back to Town and Country Partners Radio. I'm Christina Wilkinson. The wet conditions across the state has hindered planting across Illinois for both farmers and gardeners. Now, hopefully the extremely wet conditions are behind us and planting for both farmers and gardeners can commence. University of Illinois Extension horticulture educator Jennifer Fishburne says that while it is too late to plant some leafy favorites, there is still plenty of time to plant a well-rounded garden.
Not too late to get our summer warm-loving vegetables planted. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, those can still be planted. You're going to notice, though, that the fruit will be later in the season than what you're hoping for, but it's not too late for those. As well as cucumbers, green beans, and your summer squash and sweet corn. Those are great for what we call succession planting. So you could plant those now and then continue to plant those about every 2 weeks. You get a couple of plantings in. For cucumbers, for example, you could do that till about the middle of July. Green beans to the 1st of August, and then your squash again around July 1. So there is some hope there, most definitely.
Now, what is the benefit of then the succession planting?
So with succession planting, what you're doing is you could plant green beans and summer squash and cucumbers now, and then 2 weeks from now plant again. The benefits would be you'd have a good continuous crop of those vegetables. For example, with green beans, we always notice that first picking, we get the most production. Each picking thereafter, we see a reduction in the fruit production. So by planting every 2 weeks, you could continue that really bountiful harvest longer throughout the season.
And I think sometimes that might be beneficial for people that want to put things up, like if you're going to process it or whatever, because then you're not inundated all at one time and get overwhelmed, don't you think?
Exactly, and folks look at that differently, depending on who you are. You could look at it as everything coming in once is helpful because you only have to do a whole bunch at one time, or you can look at it as you have smaller quantities continually, so it's easier to manage.
Now, another avenue that a lot of people are looking at, it seems, is like maybe planting in containers. Is there anything that you would recommend for people that are looking to take advantage of that?
Most definitely. Container planting is really a way to go, particularly if you're only planting a few vegetable crops, or possibly if you have limited sunlight in your yard, or for mobility reasons, a lot of people like containers. They're easier to access, as you can usually put those on a patio close to a back door, or near your kitchen, or wherever your sunlight is most readily available. And then you have the added benefit of just being able to walk out the door and pick that produce. That folks would need to keep in mind with containers is your container selection, and then making sure you're using a good quality potting soil mix. So when I say container selection can be important, make sure there's drainage holes in those containers so that they can drain adequately. When you water thoroughly so that the water drains out of the container. And then making sure the size of the container is appropriate for what you're planting. So example, lettuce and spinach would have a much smaller container than, say, tomatoes and peppers, where you might need a container that's going to hold maybe 5 gallons of potting mix. So that can be important as well. As far as what it looks like, that's personal choice, but just making sure it has drainage holes and ample size for what you're growing.
Is there anything you would recommend people not plant in containers?
Not really. You can grow just about anything in containers. You're limited, though, by space, and you want things that are usually a little bit quicker maturing and don't get as large. So my suggestion would be for tomatoes that you're planting a cherry tomato or a bush tomato, not a large fruiting tomato. And the same would go if you were putting summer squash into a container. You'd want to look for very compact bush growing type plants as opposed to those that would vine all over the place. That being said, it can be done. It's just going to be a little bit easier to manage if you're growing more compact plants in your containers.
Anything else you'd like to add about this planting season that we've currently been experiencing with the wet conditions?
Well, I'd just like to remind folks that it's not too late to get your vegetable gardens in, but it may require some rethinking. So instead of planting lettuce or spinach, maybe you look to plant Swiss chard, kale, or New Zealand spinach, which will tolerate the summer heat without bolting. While they prefer cold temperatures, they will do fine in the summer heat. And then also look at an opportunity to do some fall gardening. In most locations in Illinois, that'll begin around August 1st, where you can put in all of those leafy greens as your lettuce, your spinach, your collards, cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower plants at that time. And you will find that the taste and quality of those vegetables actually probably is a little bit better than what you might produce in the spring. So it's not too late to get out there and plant those veggies.
Now, why would it be a little bit better tasting if you're using fall versus spring?
In the fall, you have a longer season of cool period as opposed to the spring. Typically, depending on the year, it's going to warm up a lot faster, so those plants are going to bolt quicker, and they're not going to have the flavor that you're looking for. Many of our cool season vegetables actually taste better after you have a light frost, so you can have a more extended season of those vegetables going into the fall.
Thank you, horticulture educator Jennifer Fishburne. So good luck getting out there and getting your hands dirty and getting that garden planted. I know I've been itching to get my hands in the soil, so hopefully we can get this all turned